big armor, and even bigger weapons, warriors like to smash things, ram into other things, and shout "Arr!" very loudly at everything else. Ever wondered what it's like to be the badass of the group and feel like Leonidas? Mortal strike, bitch! Then stay tuned, stay seated, because I'm about to clap some thunder and educate you on what a real warrior is. Disclaimer, the purpose of the video is purely informational. We do not promote violence or aggressiveness unless it's against dragons, demons, boars, and Volpera. Aren't the last two the same? The first spec I will slam into your face is the one true warrior extravaganza, Arms. You've watched the Warcraft movies and seen badasses like Durotan. You played MOP and witnessed the true leadership of Garrosh and have enjoyed BFA. What? With the real plot being that of Sourfang. All these glorious chads were arms warriors and they did what they did best. Mortal struck and executed their way into the annals of Warcraft history before Shadowlands came and fucked everything up. Arms is a spec that focuses on dealing big hits in a methodical way. Your main resource is Rage, and if you ever try to play Torghast, you know what I'm talking about. You build Rage by swinging your big two-handed weapon around and use that on the most iconic ability, Mortal Strike. And when you are tired of the fools for acting out, you smash them like the colossus you are. Or if you are talented enough, you will take Warbreaker down to their doorstep. This will not only teach them not to act like fools anymore, but also debuff them to take extra damage from you. If it's one guy, you Mortal Strike and overpower and slam him into submission. If it's two guys, you sweep your strikes, hitting the second for 75% of the damage to let him know that once you are done with his buddy, his ass is next. And if it's more guys, just brainstorm. Arms has received a reputation of being a slow-paced spec with potential downtime. Depending on your point of view, this is true, kinda. Arms relies on methodically using your rage to maximum efficiency. Outside specific abilities, your rage comes from your weapon swings, and this can be helped by having a weak aura that tracks your weapon swings, since you can easily be empty on rage from slamming or whirlwinding and not have enough when your Mortal Strike comes off cooldown. In Dragonflight, Arms will have multiple playstyles that you can engage with, from massive single target builds that focus on Mortal Striking until your fingers bleed, to cleaving and whirlwinding like a fucking Beyblade spinning top. There will be more focus on bleeds, but also larger and more numerous big individual hits. Manage buffs like Test of Might and Merciless Bone Grinder, and debuffs like Deep Wounds for some satisfying tactical gameplay. The methodical play is very rewarding, and the amount of tools to spread damage and change the norm is amazingly engaging. Want your numbers to make your screen bleed? Pick Arms. We all know that the best way is the Berserker way. And what better way to engage in the Berserker way than to have two weapons? That's right, two is always better than one, and what? Not big enough? Well then how about you grab a two-handed weapon and grab a second one, you titanic gripping motherfucker. What's better than two weapons? Two bigger weapons. Everybody knows that since the dawn of time. Varian Rin knows it, Muradin knows it, Anduin knows it. Methodical play? Waiting for rage? Fuck that, bloodthirst and raging blow all the way, baby. Slap these mobs with the might of a rampaging, unchained mongoloid. Learn how to be a motherfucking freight train with no brakes that uses the fury of Odin and all the other gods of war ever invented. Yeah, Kratos, you heard me. Problem? Let me annihilate your ass. In Dragonflight, you can opt to use any and all weapons you please, so long as they don't give you puny intellect or agility. We all know the problems are solved with strength. Onslaught your way to the depths of insanity and use that unbridled ferocity to single-handedly massacre the entire opposition. In game. In WoW. Keep your frenzy flurry in a fantasy setting only, people. If you are not yet frothing at the mouth like the berserker you should be, that means you don't know what's in store for you in Dragonflight, where Fury looks to be one of the most amazing, fast-paced melee specs. The amount of fun and rampages you can do is out of this fucking world, and it's shaping up to be one of the specs that will ravage the competition. Fury is slowly becoming a much more in-depth spec. But don't let that fool you. The amounts of rage and sources for rage gain are awesome, and you will hardly ever not press fun buttons. Yeah, it's better to press some buttons rather than others, but either way you will have massive bursts with a lot of freaking badass abilities. It's unlikely you will ever not have fun smashing everything with big motherfucking weapons. Your main mechanic you will want to be aware of will be Enrage. When Enrage you deal a lot more damage, and with a talent you will have 15% more haste and 10% movement speed to more accurately depict you as a raging berserker. Certain abilities have a chance to enrage you as you build your rage up, and once you have enough, your main ability Rampage will consume your rage to deal massive damage and give you the enrage buff regardless. In AoE, your whirlwind will make your abilities cleave onto more enemies, and as such your rotation will remain more or less consistent, with the occasional whirlwind added in to make you constantly cleave the mobs. Whether you are a fan of one-handers or two-handers, Fury brings that to the table in a fun, fast-paced and engaging way. Fast-paced? Check. Big hits? Check. Good excuse to let out your inner maniac? Check, check, check. Fury, baby! Learn to say no and your life will be filled with success and money and... oh. Protection Warrior, right. The original tank, original gangster. Protection Warrior is the literal wall of shield. 700 pounds of pure immovable metal will stop any dragon, demon, titan in their tracks. You see those DPSers and healers? Yeah, you know they would be dead if you weren't blocking the real danger from getting to them. Taunt, challenge, and shout your way into making everything want a piece of your ass. But guess what? They ain't getting shit! Protection Warrior is the most complete Swiss Army knife of stopping stuff from happening. You build your rage by literally slamming your fucking shield into the enemy's faces. And what? What are they gonna do? Smack you? Shield block. Fireball you? Spell reflect. Bring their buddies to gang up, demoralize the motherfuckers and clap their thunder. Learn how to ignore the pain until you cannot keep it in anymore and explode with revenge on all your enemies. Not unlike what my therapist told me not to do. But she doesn't know what it's like to fend off hordes of trogs and demons and boars and... Vulpera again? Charge at enemies all around, intervene to save allies, shout some more to save everyone, pop your last stand and be the literal reason why everyone can loot the boss at the end of the fight. Protection Warrior specializes in dealing with high and numerous physical damage sources, mostly in the forms of direct attacks. Blocking is one of the best and most efficient way to mitigate the damage your enemies do to you, and your playstyle will often revolve around making sure you can maintain a high uptime on your shield block. You do indeed have tools for most if not all types of damage intake. Outside shield block for all melee attacks, which consist of anything from 80 to 90% of the damage a tank takes. You have spell reflect to either send a big spell back at the enemy or simply reduce the magic damage you take for a short while. And if that doesn't work, your ignore pain will soak up half of the damage you take. Not only the best, but that's why you have demoralizing shout to flat out reduce the damage you take by 25%. And if that's not enough, shield wall ups that to 40%. On top of all of this, your other focus will be in actually dealing as much damage as possible, since you are still a motherfucking warrior at the end of the day. Protection Warrior might not be the easiest tank to master, but if you can tank on Warrior, you will learn and understand all of the basics of tanking with any spec. Anything that the enemies can throw at you, you have an answer for, except nerfs. Please no nerfs. And that's why you should play a warrior in Dragonflight and why it's the best main you can go for. And if you're interested in playing the best meta spec that does the most damage, we have tier lists for that as well. Thank you for watching the video. See you next time. Peace.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.